You have to figure out how you're participating in your own suffering. My next few videos are going to be around cognitive distortions, and I want to talk about just a few um, that impacted me significantly. Um, so, a cognitive distortion, the easiest way I can explain it, are lies we tell ourselves to give ourselves comfort. One of the biggest cognitive distortions that I use on a regular basis is black and white thinking, all or nothing thinking. I'm autistic. This is kind of a feature of an autistic brain, but lots of people use all or nothing thinking or black and white thinking. And for me, it was there's always a right way to do things. There is always a right answer to the question. And there can only be one right answer. So I never had, not never, but that was just how I viewed the world all of the time. And it led also to like an internal perfectionism. Like I'm not an external perfectionist. Like I don't need my house or my world. Like I'm not type A, but I'm an internal perfectionist. And so I expected um just constant perfection out of myself. And anytime I couldn't do it, it made me a failure. Um that was part of the black and white thinking. It was just like it's all right or it's all wrong. Learning that like two things can be true at one time. Um, I'm trying to think of like a really good example of sort of some of the black and white thinking. A lot of it comes from like religious trauma. I grew up in evangelical Christianity. My dad was a Pentecostal pastor. So there was just like a lot of black and white thinking. But I really do think like that need to always do things right, that there was always a right answer, um, really was one of the most challenging belief systems that I carried with me that caused me a lot of suffering. The idea that there was always a right answer. Um, and because it led to so much rumination, it led to such internal turmoil, um, that if I chose wrong, it was going to lead to a series of terrible consequences for myself because I made the wrong decision that I should have known was a bad thing to do. It was a wrong thing to do. And, it might be like, do I take this job or this job? Do I quit and look for another job? And I would be like, oh, there's a right decision here. There's a right and a wrong decision. And if I make the wrong decision, I'm like really gonna fuck things up. Um, Even as like a non-believer, there was I think a little bit that still I retained of like God's plan and stepping off of God's plan for your life. Um, it just led to a lot of turmoil for me, internal personal turmoil of always needing to do the right thing. Once I let go of that and it just became decisions I made that had no moral consequence, um, that gave me so much freedom. That like not every decision had like moral implications. Like sometimes um, it was like just a decision to go out to dinner or not, or it was just um, like it wasn't necessarily that they were insignificant decisions, but that there weren't cascades of unforeseen consequences that were going to be all good or all bad, depending on which decision I made. Um, so, what I just realized is that most of our decisions are morally neutral, and where I place like my faith now is in myself, that I now have like the skills and the discernment um, to face whatever challenges come next. Like that, while our decisions are not necessarily all good or all bad, or there's not necessarily a right way or a wrong way, that they can just be morally neutral and they're just choices we make in our lives. Um, and that I can have the capacity and the skills to handle whatever comes next. Um, and that in whatever decision I make, there will probably be good and bad things. And conversely, whatever decision I made before, and if I made a different decision, there was still going to be good or bad things that came out of that decision, good and bad. Like, that's just life. Like, um, and and that I had capacity to handle whatever consequences came and the wisdom to celebrate the joy. Um, and so that's where, like, that's the place I make decisions from now. And instead of having to be right, sometimes it just goes, I think this is the best decision I can make. And I don't um, waste my time with the internal turmoil. I don't waste my time with beating myself up afterwards when something negative happens. Um, I don't look at the world in that way anymore. And that just really freed me. Yeah, just from a lot of kind of the internal rumination, the internal spiraling, the internal self flagellation um, that came from that need to always do it the right way. And that there was always a right way, and you have to find it. And if you don't find it, it says something horrible about you. Yeah, there's just like that caused me so much turmoil. And letting go of that, and letting go of the like, you have to do X, Y, and Z to like build a happy life. That was a lot of the belief system I was raised in, like married, get married, have kids, all of that stuff. Um, like that doesn't exist for me anymore. I don't have to live my life that way anymore. And it's just really beautiful and peaceful and free. Um, and it's nice to just be able sometimes to just decide, um, because I think it's the best thing for me to do, and know that I'm capable of meeting whatever comes next.